What is up, Big 12 Nation? It's Tuesday night. That can mean only one thing. It's time for another installment of the Biggest 12. And you know what night it is. It's Iowa State night. We're talking Cyclones, all things bird-headed weather effects. Okay, it is Iowa State night. And I, of course, am your host, Clint Foster. Thank you so much for being with us. You know the situation. We're trying to grow this show, all right? We're trying to start a movement with your favorite internet Big 12 show. Like and subscribe at Big 12 Voice of College Football. There it is right there. Share it with your friends and family. Start knocking on doors. Let's do this thing, baby. BYU's in the conference now. We're trying to evangelize, okay? We got this show every single Tuesday night, but there's plenty more things on the Voice of College Football Big 12 channel that you're going to want to be a part of. As always, please follow me on Twitter if you haven't already at Clint_Foster55 and on YouTube at Clint Foster Comedy. Check out that Gary Patterson to Baylor sketch if you haven't seen it yet. Trying to definitely here's my promise to you. Spring break for me is in 2 weeks. I promise you I will get you another video during spring break. How's that sound? But only if you subscribe. Only if you subscribe, okay? So let's get this thing rolling, this Iowa State night show. I have an outstanding Cyclone guest for us tonight. I'm calling him the resident Biggest 12 ISU expert. It is Greg Mackey, ladies and gentlemen. Greg, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Got some cyclone type weather happening up here in Iowa right now.
Oh,
it's a tornado warning over in eastern Iowa. So don't see that often in February, but it's happening.
No kidding, man. Is it green sky or does it happen up there like that?
Oh, yeah, it'll happen occasionally like that. Not as much as in like Tornado Alley, but yeah, we'll see the occasional green sky tornadoes up here.
Man, wow. So, okay, I want to get something out of the way first. And this is something that I've never really fully, maybe it's just that I haven't thoroughly explored it yet. But why the cardinal head on the tornado? What is the deal? I mean, I love it, but what is happening there?
So Iowa State's original mascot was the Cardinals, and somewhere in the 1890s, they went and played Northwestern, and they beat them pretty bad. And that same week, there was a tornado that destroyed Evanston, and so the line at the top of the paper was destroyed by a cyclone. Iowa State, whatever, beats Northwestern, and they had to score. So at that point, Iowa State decided, well, that's a pretty unique name. So they adopted the Cyclones with the colors cardinal and gold. So outside of the 2005 Colorado game, it's hard to get a tornado mascot at Jack Trice. So they went with, well, we'll just get Cy the Cardinal to kind of show one of our main colors or whatever, but still called the Cyclones.
That is fascinating. It's kind of like having your cake and eating it too, right?
Yes.
We're going to be both the Cardinals and the Cyclones, but make them one monstrosity that also has teeth. Okay, hold on a second. My cat is I need to put my cat outside. He's like rubbing up against the table that I got the show on. Get out of here. Go on. Okay. So I'll ask you the first question to get this thing going off. That I've been starting every single show like this, all of our postmortems. If you had to assign a letter grade to Iowa State's 2023 football season, what would you give the Cyclones?
I mean, considering all the circumstances and everything.
Consider circumstances, consider expectations, all of it.
I think a lot of expectations kind of had them maybe at like 4-8, 5-7, and they went 7-5, 7-6 with the ball loss. I would give them like a C+ B- kind of in that area. I mean, there are some games they let slip away, but considering everything, they outperformed expectations, but they left a lot on the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at especially the way the season started versus where it finished, I mean, obviously, 7-5 isn't what you ultimately want, but I mean, a bowl game in a season that you also lose to Ohio, I mean,
yeah.
Let's be honest. Like if it was me, I'd be like, phew, like at least we got to a bowl game, and you consider like the dude who almost broke Matt Campbell's brain.
Oh yeah.
And then here we have it now. Oh, well, I guess things are okay. Matt Campbell's not on the hot seat anymore.
Yeah.
What to you was the high point of the season last year?
I would say that K-State game.
Yeah. I mean, that's the easy choice.
Yeah. Right? With the snow and two of the first and second string running backs basically kind of were already talking to other schools in the portal just because they kind of saw the writing on the wall with Abu Sama. And so they get essentially kicked off the team like day before they go down to play in Manhattan, and you're in the snow, and K-State's got this, senior quarterback. You got a pretty good team. Manhattan's a hard place to play, and you go in there, and nobody was expecting them to do that. Like I personally had marked it as a loss, and then to watch them go out there and win the game that they did, that I thought that was a high point of the season.
Yeah, I love Abu Sama. I give me some of that, right? I am all on board with Abu Sama. Iowa State's really starting to get a recent pedigree of solid running backs here, kind of out of nowhere. I mean, you look at like Breece Hall is arguably one of the best backs in the NFL right now. I mean, I'm sure that's your opinion that he is, and also Montgomery with the Lions. I mean, what's with the running back renaissance or just initial birth at Iowa State, would you say?
I think Matt Campbell is really good at scouting running backs because you got Breece Hall, and then it looks like Abu Sama is going to be the next guy in the lineage. Breece Hall was kind of under-recruited up until his junior year. I think he kind of blew up, but at that point, Matt was like in there, spotted him early. David Montgomery was a running quarterback out of Ohio that wasn't getting recruited, and Matt's like, come play running back for us. It kind of goes back to his time at Toledo when he had Kareem Hunt there. That was, he had Kareem Hunt, then moved to Iowa State, got David Montgomery, and then Breece Hall. Now it looks like Abu Sama is the next one. So I think it's just Matt's really good at identifying NFL talent at the running back position.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly appear so. So, obviously that Ohio game, that was a really frustrating one. The Iowa game, I'm gonna tell you something, man. So I'm gonna pick 'em league, of course, as we all are. And I was like, no, listen, this is the year that Iowa State they're winning. I think it would have been back-to-back this year, right?
Yeah, it would have been.
I'm like, I believe in them. They're going to do it. And I'm like, oh, my God. Like it's another year. Iowa has somehow won again, despite having the worst offense in America. And, just how do they keep winning this game? I'll actually put a pin in the Iowa conversation because I do want to talk to you about that. But was there a point of the season where – like this was the low point to you? This was one that you really felt like got away, a game that Iowa State should have had.
Oh, that Ohio game. I mean, I'd be lying if I chose any other game than that one. I mean, most of the team actually had the norovirus during that game.
Oh my God.
Like Campbell's he's not the kind of guy that's going to sit there and make excuses. Like if you're playing, go out there and execute. So, I mean, they still nearly pulled it off despite being sick. But I mean, it's a G5 versus a Power 5. They should have won that game regardless of the scenario. And I figured that was the low point of the season. At that point, I was like, we're not making a bowl game. Like I thought we were looking at another long year similar to last year.
So let's unpack this Iowa situation. I mean, any Iowa State fans that are watching, like, go ahead and take a shot of whatever you have to take a shot of. Why is the Cy-Hawk game so elusive? What is the deal? Why, Greg? Tell me why.
So my thinking is so Matt Campbell kind of runs a different style compared to the rest of the Big 12, where it's more of a power football, ball control defense. Kirk Ferentz has been doing that for 25 years at Iowa. So you're kind of like trying to play the same game that they've perfected there. So you start playing in that box that Campbell, I mean, last year, Hunter Deckers has a little bit better arm, so they allowed him to kind of throw it downfield. This year, you had redshirt freshman Rocco Becht, and they kind of were playing within that box. They didn't want to give him too much to get him sped up and lose his head. But when you start playing in that box, the way Iowa's defense plays is their defensive backs are all playing cover 2, eyes forward. So they're always constantly moving forward. And you start playing in that 8-yard box or whatever it is, you're playing right into their hands. So they could just sit on the 8 yards off the line of scrimmage, eyes forward, and just react to everything in front of them.
Yep.
That's my only explanation of it. I mean, if we ran a more of a Big 12 style, kind of open it up, throw the ball a little bit more style, we would have more success against Iowa, but we wouldn't be winning as many Big 12 games, because at that point you're going against the Mike Gundys, who's been doing this for 20 years, Texas and Oklahoma and TCU and Texas Tech and Baylor, who all have these supreme athletes. Like, so it's kind of, I'll trade losing the Iowa game for constantly competing in the Big 12.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like there's the ongoing joke with Iowa fans. They're like, this is your Super Bowl or whatever. And
we must be the Bills then. Like,
yeah, right. Like constantly losing Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like, if you could guarantee me, like, okay, you lose the Iowa game every year, but you're in the hunt for the Big 12 title every year, I would take that in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Absolutely. You mentioned Rocco Becht, and that's a kid who, in TCU's disaster of a game against Iowa State, it was such a mess of a game. I liked what I saw out of him. Give me your opinions on the young quarterback, the future going forward with him.
He is super accurate. He's a little bit better athlete than I think people give him credit for. Iowa State just does not like running their quarterbacks, especially last year when his backup is a true freshman. You don't want to run a true freshman out into the Big 12, not with the kind of defenses they're seeing now. He's really accurate, has a good enough arm. If there's one knock on him, I would think it would be his downfield arm strength. He's pretty good in the short to medium. He's almost like, and I hate putting this on him because if he falls short, people are going to be like, well, you put this on him, but he's a lot like Brock Purdy in a way of kind of being really kind of running the offense, like being really smart, getting guys into the right spots, being super accurate with the ball. I'm not saying he's Brock Purdy, but is like the gameplay is very similar into that of, okay, I'm not the biggest athlete out here, I'm not the fastest guy, but if I can get the ball to the right spots at the right times, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I'm trying to pull up a picture that I've got, but what were your opinions? Speaking of the TCU game, the flesh-colored pants of the Jack Trice uniforms. Here we go. I got a picture now. Here, this was one of my favorite pictures from this last season. Here we go. The flesh-colored pants of the Jack Trice uniforms. What was your opinion?
So when they debuted them at the spring game last year, like, we knew they were all coming, but we didn't know. We saw, like, kind of knew what the top would be, but nobody kind of knew what the bottom would be. And I saw this come out. I was like, oh God, these are gonna look so bad on TV if, like, you're not up close. It's gonna look like they're running around like Winnie the Pooh in it, just wearing a top, no bottom.
100%, yes.
So I don't know. It's kind of funny to me. I mean, I get it. They're trying to get that throwback look, but man, it looks so bad.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Like, the whole concept of the Jack Trice uniforms were really cool. I loved the helmets that went along with them that said Ames on them. But yeah, the execution of the khaki pants, it really made me reconsider. For years and years and years, I've been like, oh my God, I wish TCU would do a 1938 throwback, because that's our last national championship. And we wore similar khaki pants back in the 30s because everyone did, I guess.
Yeah, that's what everybody did.
But after seeing this, I'm like, you know what? I'm glad. I'm good. I think it was the right call to never do that. I'll settle for a flying T throwback uniform one of these days.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, Tim didn't watch the TCU Iowa State game last year.
Oh God, it was. I had my seats in there, and like from my seats, I was just like, I know how bad this looks inside the stadium. I can't imagine how bad it looks on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I went home, started seeing the stuff come across Twitter. I was like, yeah, it looked worse on TV.
Yeah, here's a okay, yeah, this is actually from Iowa State. I'll pull up a full look at the uniforms here for people who didn't get to catch it. But while I'm doing that, here's an interesting comment from Mike. He said Iowa State has a chance to take over the Cyhawk rivalry. Kirk only cares about winning the West Division, and that's gone. Kirk will either retire or be fired. What are your thoughts on that, Greg?
I don't think Kirk's gonna be around much longer. I think he wants to get. He's only a few wins away from passing Bo Schembechler for the most Big Ten wins. He basically this year was basically trying to keep Brian's job.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's going to try to get that record, and he's on the verge of being at that 60% win clip too to get in the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm thinking he's got maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years left, and the second he gets those two accomplishments like under his belt, he's gone.
Yeah. Here, so okay, for those of you who missed it, here are the Jack Trice uniforms that Iowa State wore last year for the Jack Trice Legacy game. You can see the super cool, love the helmets that say Ames. That's a very sharp look. And the jerseys are cool with the classic Jack Trice chevron. But then we come to the pants. This is where it all goes wrong, right? This is where you had it, right? And then you were so close. You wore flesh-colored pants. But a very cool concept, if nothing else.
I think if the game wasn't a night game, it would have looked better. But because
honestly,
the game was at night, it looked really bad.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So let's do a little prognosticating. Greg, what are your thoughts about next year for the Cyclones? General expectations for you for the immediate future here, and then we'll get into looking at the schedule in more detail. What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, they've returned 20 of 22 starters this year.
Man, there are so many Big 12 teams in that situation. We had Oklahoma State on last episode. It's the same 20 to 21 starters, depending on how you would look at a starter. I mean, that's crazy, and that's very good news for Iowa State.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say Vegas has their over/under at 7.5, and I would say they're about 8-4. They're about an 8-4 team. They're still kind of young across the board. I mean, they have a lot of snaps and experience, but you're looking at you're going to have a true sophomore running back, a redshirt sophomore quarterback, spots on the defense. You'll have along the defensive line, you're going to have redshirt sophomores and true sophomores on the defensive line. Same with linebackers. So like there's still youth there. There's experience, but you know, a senior versus a sophomore is a different kind of experience.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if I'm in your shoes, I am just like trying to keep a hold of myself, not like having Texas Tech hype levels going into 25 and 26. You know, like, oh my God, with this another year of experience under so many of these guys' belts, and especially guys on like the defensive line you're talking about. That's exciting. That's exciting stuff. Let's take a look at the schedule. They are official now, of course. What were your initial thoughts whenever you saw the way that this shook out for Iowa State?
I was looking at like 8-4, 9-3, depending on how toss-up games go. I mean, North Dakota is a really bad FCS school. Luckily, it's not North Dakota State or South Dakota State or UNI.
I was going to say, or UNI in Will's experience. Golly.
Because we seem to schedule those and get beat sometimes because they're, those are your top three teams in the FCS most of the time. Iowa game, I always chalk that up as a loss.
Yeah,
we're playing their style. So if we win, I'm happy. If we lose, I kind of expected it at that point. Arkansas State, I would say that's a win. Houston, the Houston game, I think they'll win, but Willie Fritz is a really good coach.
Yeah.
But
It's
I don't
gonna be
really
interesting.
know. I don't know exactly how they're like, what kind of style offense they're going to run, because they were under the I'm losing his name, Dana Holgerson offense there
Yes.
for a bit. So how quick is Willie going to be able to retool that to an offense that's going to be that he wants to run, and the personnel? It's a lot easier now with the transfer portal, but you're also competing against a lot of good football schools down in Texas for those same guys. Like if I'm going to go to Houston, I'm in East Texas, I could go to Baylor, or I could go to Texas A&M, or shoot, even Texas State is starting to pull some guys in, and they're a G5. So that one, I said that was going to be a win, just based off of the information I know today. Then you got to go to Baylor, or you get Baylor at home. I think Baylor's going to be real bad again this year.
Yeah.
I think Dave Aranda should be polishing his resume up, because he's not going to be around much longer there. At West Virginia, that game is going to be brutal. They return a lot of guys. They won a lot of games last year. I feel like Neil's starting to get things going there. It took him a few years, but then again, he was digging out of that hole from Dana Holgerson.
Yep.
So is
that here?
Yeah,
Dana Holgerson leaving a mess for someone to have to figure out.
Iowa native Dana Holgerson.
Yeah.
Then we get UCF at home. That one intrigues me, because the kind of defense that Iowa State runs is kind of predicated on stopping that similar offense. And with them coming up, it's like a mid-October game. The weather could come into play. Got these guys from Florida coming up to Ames, where it could be 50 degrees that day. That's nice weather for us, but them, that's pretty cold. So Texas Tech, that one I figured is probably a loss. They got some talent there. I think McGuire's a really good coach.
Yeah.
He can get the guys. So I chalk that one up to a loss. So I'm West Virginia, Iowa, Texas Tech is a loss. At Kansas, but that one's at Arrowhead, and I honestly think Iowa State gets them there. The game was pretty close.
I'd have
last
more
year.
Iowa State fans there, depending on how tickets.
Oh yeah. Iowa State fans will drive there in droves. Like for some reason, Iowa State fans love Kansas City, whether it's games at Arrowhead or the Big 12 tournament. It's a 3-hour drive down 35. It's not that hard to get to. So I figured they'd win that one. Cincinnati, I think, is going to be real bad again. So they win that one. At Utah, that one's going to be rough. Utah's going to be good this year, so I figured that's a loss. And then K-State at home. Hopefully we get another snow game.
Yeah. I think all of America is hoping that. The Snow Bowl was so fun.
It was perfect. That game needs to be played in the snow all the time.
The fact, can I just say for a second, the fact that Farmageddon is not one of the protected rivalries in the new Big 12 literally makes my head explode. Like, how can you not acknowledge this as a rivalry that must be protected? I don't know.
It's like the longest running consecutive game being played right now in college football. Like, it'll be like 110 years running. And then by the time the 1 year that it stops, I think it's like the 111th year or something like that. Which at that point, they need to try to figure something out. Maybe, who knows? It's college football. There's probably going to be another round of realignment between now and then anyways. So
honestly, yeah.
But K-State, Senior Day in Ames, I would chalk that up to an Iowa State win. So, it's 8-4, I think, right there, just off the top of my head without getting too deep into the weeds.
I mean, in truth, it's kind of a brutal schedule. Let's be honest. I mean, the good thing is you ease into it, right?
Yeah.
So you very realistically should be going into Morgantown, short of a nuclear bomb going off. You should be going into Morgantown at 4-1,
Yeah.
bare minimum, right?
Yep.
If things break your way in Iowa, then you're sitting at 5-0. But then, oh my gosh, I mean, just that West Virginia, UCF, Texas Tech, Kansas, back to back to back to back. That is a rough stretch.
Yep.
And thankfully you're at home, and for the two middle of those, I mean, going to Lubbock, that's the one place I'd want to go the least. Well, actually, Morgantown's tough too. But yeah, you're not missing many of the tough teams in the league, right?
Yeah.
You're missing Arizona, who knows what Arizona is going to look like with a new coach, and you're missing. TCU hadn't been able to do crap against Iowa State except for 2022 recently. And who else? Oklahoma State, right? So that's two potential Arizona, Oklahoma State, two potential title contenders that you're missing. But you've got literally all the rest of them. I think Kansas is going to be really great next year. Utah, you mentioned. UCF, I think, will be better with KJ Jefferson. West Virginia. I mean, that's a brutal stretch.
Yeah. And you got K-State on top of that too. I think they're the favorite to win the league next year.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and I didn't even mention yeah, like another one who's absolutely a title contender and in a big rivalry game when anything can happen. It's so I think that 8-4 is a conservative estimate of how things could go. But even then, I mean, you got to steal a couple, right?
Yeah.
Even 6 wins isn't a guarantee with the schedule. If we're being, and Iowa State's a good team. That's not besmirching Iowa State at all. That's just this is a tough freaking schedule.
Yeah, it's just the way the schedule broke this year with who you're playing, and I mean, outside of that Cincinnati game, you get to West Virginia, and then you got a murderer's row all the way out. And
now I will say this:
could happen.
I'm kind of in wait and see mode on Utah. I mean, yes, obviously their recent success speaks for itself. 2-time Rose Bowl participant, Utah. But to me, I look at that Baylor game last year and them needing a no-call pass interference to win that game. Like, Baylor was not good. I'm just kind of like, Utah, maybe you're drinking your own Kool-Aid a little too much. It's going to be interesting to see, I think, how they actually fare in the new conference.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed it. I mean, we've been blessed enough to see all these teams come into the Big 12. They don't come in and dominate right away. There's an adjustment period outside of Houston basketball this year, but that one was, I mean, everybody saw that coming, how Houston plays basketball. That was kind of that was a no-brainer layup there. But for football-wise, it doesn't seem like there's a team that comes in and is just right off the bat dominating. It took TCU a couple years. I mean, West Virginia a couple years. They were pretty good with I want to say they won that Orange Bowl 73-7 or something like that the year before. And I mean they were decent. They were decent for a couple years, but it wasn't 10-2 where they got, once Dana kind of got things rolling there, they were 93-10-2. So Houston, I'm kind of in a wait and see mode, but they have the pieces there that of the 4 new schools, I feel like they're the one that's best suited to make that transition easier.
Now this is a college football show, but you mentioned basketball. We should at least acknowledge Iowa State basketball playing in the best basketball conference in the nation, bar none. We are what the SEC thinks they are in football. Let's not get it twisted. Is this the best Iowa State basketball team of all time? I mean, how hyped are you going into March?
I don't know if it was the best would be considered the best basketball team of all time. I mean, the 99-2000 team was a pretty good team. They should have gone to the Final Four that year. But I would say it's a top 5 team in the history of Iowa State basketball.
Iowa State plays dang good defense, and that's the only team. I mean, TCU is unusually good this year. And both those Iowa State games, I was like, man, like if you don't turn over the ball against TCU, you're probably going to win. You don't turn over the ball and you play good defense, you're probably going to win. And Iowa State just absolutely perfectly reversed our game on us both times that we played. I mean, the 27 turnovers we had at home, I was like, what is happening? This is like, early 2000s levels of just complete incompetence on display right now. But man, I'm excited for all the Big 12 teams come March. I think that all of us could make a good showing, but especially Iowa State. Hopefully better than last year.
Yeah. We struggled to score last year, but this year it seems like they've kind of got some pieces that can kind of break those scoring droughts. But I'm just excited to get out of the Big 12 schedule,
honestly,
and start playing some non-conference teams again, because I think all of the teams are kind of sick of playing each other right now, just because it's so physical and so good that getting to March would be a nice break for playing night in and night out.
Thank God we got to play Duke this week. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I just know TCU's going to be a freaking 8 seed again. It's going to be so annoying. But I'm also like, hey, maybe like whoever it is, Gonzaga is going to be like a nice little summer holiday type thing happening for us with all of the Big 12 murderers we're so used to. I mean,
if you're that 8 seed, you're going to want to be on Purdue's side.
Oh, yes.
TCU gets up and down the floor so fast that Purdue – Zach Edey's not going to play that many minutes just because you're going to run him out of the gym, essentially. So
yes. Well, now I'm excited. Yeah, because Purdue, the only one team that's lost to a 16 seed.
Yeah,
one of two teams that's lost to a 16 seed. Purdue is that team that you always pick to go fairly deep in your bracket, and they always screw you over. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be fooled again by Purdue. Okay, so we're going to play a fun game now. Because it is Iowa State night, I had to come up with something Iowa State themed. And Greg, I need your help establishing a tier list for the most elite ways to prepare corn. All right, are you down to help me out with this?
Yeah.
Okay, this is as Iowa-y as I could come up with. Actually, the last time I was in Iowa, I really wanted to go to Iowa State for the game this past year for my first time. I haven't made it up to Ames for a game. Now I'm glad that I did not go up for that game because it would have been brutal. But the last time I was up in Iowa, I was doing a construction job in Conesville, Iowa. This is back when I was in construction several years ago. Have you ever been to Conesville, Greg?
I have not.
It is barely even a town. And I was working down in this ditch next to a pig barn. And it was just, nice people, otherwise miserable experience. Anyway, so another form of farming. Let's talk corn. We'll just go in the order that the tier list has given these to me. So these are all different ways of preparing corn. You know how a tier list works, right, Greg?
Yep.
Of course you do, obviously. All right. So we'll start with cornbread. All right. And this can be sweet cornbread, savory cornbread, however you do your cornbread. How do you do your cornbread in your house, Greg?
Just traditional way, but cornbread pudding is there's actually a barbecue place in Ames called Cornbread, but like BRED, and they kind of do fusion barbecue, and they do like a cornbread pudding, and I want that recipe because that's the best cornbread I've ever had.
That sounds immaculate.
Yeah, it's so good.
Cornbread pudding. Oh my God. So where are we putting cornbread? Which tier are we putting cornbread in?
Oh, that's S tier.
S tier for sure. Yeah, I think that's very fair. It's far too American. Okay, I don't know if I'm assuming you have these in Iowa. This makes me think of Chicken Express in Texas. An absolute delicacy: corn nuggets or corn fritters. Have you ever had a corn nugget, Greg?
Yeah, they're all right. I'd probably put them at like a B.
I love corn nuggets. I have a very unhealthy relationship with corn nuggets. Where are you putting them, Greg? It's your tier list.
Let's go B tier.
B tier. Okay. Oh, wow. That's.
I mean, we have so much corn up here. Like you kind of get sick of it, you know.
You know what? I need to make that the like quote for this episode. We have so much corn up here. You're probably gonna get sick of it. Okay. This is elote. All right, so Mexican street corn. This is the kind in a bowl. This is S tier for me, but well, shoot, they've all been S tier so far for me. Where are you putting elote?
Oh, that's S tier.
Okay, S tier. Absolutely agree. This is just your standard corn on the cob, boiled corn on the cob with a nice slab of butter on it. Get the little wood stick in there. Classic. I mean, you can't go wrong with a classic, right?
How are you boiling it though? Are you putting sugar in the water and then boiling it?
So this, to me, it was just like you boil it in salt water and then you salt and pepper it and slap of butter. But this is new to me. Boiling it in sugar water. Can you please elaborate, Greg?
Yeah, you just put some sugar in the water and boil it that way. It helps bring out the sweetness, and then you slather it in butter and
oh my God,
you put a bunch of salt on it, so you get that sweet and salty.
Oh, yes, that sounds spectacular. So yes, this corn was boiled in sugar water for the purposes of our tier list. Yes.
My wife's gonna kill me, but I'll put it at the A tier.
Why would your wife kill you on this one?
That is like supreme S tier for her. She loves corn on the cob. Like, to me, it's like, sure, we'll have some, but like once the stands start going up, she's coming home with bushels. It's like, oh, we're gonna have sweet corn tonight. I'm like, cool, I'll have my one, I guess. I don't know.
I've always loved corn on the cob. The only downside is just, it's so stuck in my teeth. That's the only downside I can say. And you look like a barbarian when you're eating it. You can't.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like when you cannot eat a taco and look sexy. You just gotta. Hey, we gotta understand that we're on the same playing field right here. We're closer than friends after an experience of eating corn on the cob together in the same room. Yes. Okay. So corn tortillas. Texas Tech has entered the chat. Corn tortillas.
Man. Texas Tech fans. I've already gotten into it with some of them before. Like, because I'm a flour tortilla kind of guy.
Oh, me too. Absolutely.
God, I have to put them at like a C tier. Like, I will not choose a corn tortilla if I have the option.
Yeah, I'm with you. Flour is far superior. I mean, some nice warm corn tortillas with some butter, that can be a solid aperitif, But generally, if we're talking tacos, I mean, I love some corn tortilla chips.
Yeah,
right, with heavy salt, but yeah, the corn tortilla itself, that's definitely lower on the tier list.
I mean, if they're done right, they're fantastic. But it's hard, especially up here. It's hard to find somebody that does a corn tortilla like perfect.
Oh man, Tim, this completely slipped my mind. Corn dogs. So this isn't on the tier list right now. Where are you putting corn dogs?
Oh, dude, that's an S tier. Corn dogs are elite.
100%. Yes,
but corn dog. Again, you can't look sexy eating a corn dog.
Well,
I'm not getting into that.
I would argue that perhaps you can, depending on who you are. Okay, so corn dogs are S tier. We're just going to remember that. I've got some bacon corn chowder here. So this is like a creamy soup, some potatoes, some bacon, some chives. Almost like a baked potato soup with corn in it. Where does this fall for you, Greg?
That's a D. That doesn't even sound appetizing to me.
That's a D. Okay. All right. Also have corn salsa with some corn chips. So this is like black beans, red bell peppers, that sort of thing.
That I would put that in the A tier. Good corn salsa goes a long ways.
Yeah. So I'm one who, whenever I go to Chipotle, always getting some corn salsa on the bowl. Always.
Oh yeah.
Big fan of they do it with like corn and green peppers and onions in there, but very solid. Okay, so we've done boiled corn. How about grilled corn? We're way more into barbecue territory here.
Yeah. So I actually prefer it to sweet corn, but it's also not like something I have to have.
Okay.
So I'll probably put it back on the A tier.
Okay.
Okay. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's okay. It's just a different way of preparing like corn on the cob,
Yeah. It's a slightly different flavor profile, I think.
Yeah.
So I thought it merited, a separate entry. Okay, this may be cheating, but popcorn. I feel like this is a type of corn. Movie theater butter popcorn. I mean, it's a standby. It smells better than anything in the world. I think we can agree on that.
That's an S tier. Popcorn is an elite snack.
Yeah, truly elite. How are we feeling about the ordering of these, by the way? Are you happy with these? The way these are ordered? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cream corn. This is another one that I absolutely love. Cream corn.
No, that's a D.
Really?
It's a consistency thing with me, man.
I am seeing a theme here down in your D tier. You don't like any kind of excess moisture with your corn, apparently.
Yeah, that's just weird. Like, I just remember being in school and they bring out those giant cans of cream corn and here, have some corn with your meal. I'm like,
that must be an Iowa thing. It's really feeding you. Hey, we got all this surplus corn.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't remember excess corn vats in school. Okay. What is this one? I don't even know. Okay, yeah. So this was like a corn salad. So like,
like a cowboy caviar type
thing. Huh? What's that?
Kind of like a cowboy caviar type of thing where it's
yeah. So I think this one has, peppers. It looks like it's got maybe some spinach in there. Assorted vegetables. This is going to be more of like some kind of vinaigrette probably with it, or like an oil that's in it, and less like, elotes with more like spices and stuff.
Yeah. I would probably put that as C tier.
Okay. Yeah. I'm fine with that. Okay. And then we got corn dogs at S as well. Well, this looks spectacular. I don't know about you, Greg, but I feel like we've done very solid work here.
Yeah.
We've made the world a slightly better place. And we're making lots of folks in the chat very hungry, so that's exciting. Okay. Well, that is all I've got for you, Greg. Any other parting shots, final thoughts on Iowa State you want to put out there into the internet before you start plugging where people can find you?
It's kind of interesting that you had me on this week after Iowa State lost their offensive coordinator and all that stuff going on now, but I don't know. It seems like everything's going to be all right. The guy that they hired has been with Campbell since Toledo, and he's kind of worked his way up. And he's the one that found Breece Hall and Brock Purdy. So, I mean, it seems like everything is going to go okay.
Yep, I think Iowa State's going to be just fine. It's it's kind of amazing. You think about how far Iowa State has come with Matt Campbell now being a consistent contender. I mean, I'm old enough to remember TCU beating Iowa State in the Houston Bowl, and that being like an aberration for Iowa State. Even getting to that bowl game. So
yeah, that was a stretch where we were getting to bowl games, but when I was growing up, it was 3-2 win seasons. Like,
yeah,
so.
The world is a better, people always say this nonsense like college football is better when Texas is good. That's a bunch of nonsense. College football is better when the Iowa States of the world, the underdogs, the programs that people count out. That's when college football is great, is when those teams are good. That's all I got to say on that subject. So, Greg, tell the people where they can find you. Plug yourself, friend.
You can find me on Twitter at gmackey32. I'm pretty active on there. It's pretty much the only social media that I use. So can't really find me anywhere else unless you're up in Ames. Come to Ames, hit me up. We'll host it at our tailgate and show you a good time.
Do you still do the Twitter live shows that people can check out?
Yep.
Yeah,
on Thursday.
Usually.
Yeah, on Thursday nights at 8:00, me and Brittany, the KU fan, we kind of recap everything that's gone on the Big 12 the previous week and kind of make predictions for either the football or basketball game, depending what season we're in, for the following week, and just have a good time on Twitter Live. So
amazing. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here, Greg. Really appreciate the heck out of you. And thank you all for being a part of another edition of the Biggest 12. Let's see, what is next Tuesday? Next Tuesday is March 5th. So that is going to be Kansas night on the Biggest 12. We will have Brittany on the show, as well as our good friend Austin Eckert. It's going to be all Jayhawks and it's going to be a fun time. So you won't want to miss that. Make sure in that spirit that you subscribe at Big 12 VOCFB. Do not miss a show. Be here for Kansas Week. Be here for every single week of this off season. And again, if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55 and on YouTube at Clint Foster Comedy. Thank you again, Greg. It has been a good time. I haven't even been playing the play out music. What am I doing? This is my first day. Oh my God. So thank you, Greg, for being here. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope your team wins and go Big 12. See you next time.